Hey guys, this is Josh here with Trillium Wild Edibles, and today I wanted to bring you a short little video on my 5 favorite wild medicinal plants. And in each one of these plants, we're going to be talking about some of the ways they can be used, as well as some of the supporting herbs that can be used with them. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Number 5 is wild lettuce. Now, there are many different species of wild lettuce, and some species of this plant are also good as an edible plant, but most you will find are best used for medicinal purposes. Wild lettuce is a part of the Lactuca genus from the lactating qualities that it has. Wild lettuce will spit out a milky white latex or sap when any of the fresh plant parts are taken from a live plant. This milky sap is not really a latex per se, but it is responsible for the medicinal properties of wild lettuce, which can range from a sedative all the way to a pain reliever. Now, in the past, I have made a few mistakes on this plant, and what I mean by that is that I have said this plant contains opiates when this is not actually the case. That mistake was made because of some of the information that I had was a little bit outdated, whereas in the past 5 years or so, in 2013, there was a study that I came across that showed that wild lettuce does not actually contain any opiates, so I did want to apologize for that mistake. However, its chemical constituents do act a little bit like opium in the body, but it doesn't contain any actual opiates. This confusion arises from outdated information, as many wild plants are still being studied for their properties. So don't worry, you will not fail any drug tests from using this plant. Wild lettuce can be used in teas, tinctures, and even smoked for medicinal properties. As a sedative, it is rather strong, especially when combined with lobelia in tincture form or being smoked. A tea can be rather bitter depending on which species you use, as some are more bitter than others, like blue lettuce, which I have shown in some of my other videos, that's extremely bitter. So make sure that you keep that in mind when you're using any wild lettuce plant. In the early spring, wild lettuce greens can be gathered and eaten for their food by boiling the leaves for just a few minutes. The water that's left can be used if you drink it like you would a tea for its sedating properties, though it's technically a decoction and not an infusion. A decoction is something where you are boiling the plant parts in water, and an infusion is where you are steeping plant parts in hot water. Number 4 is the common mullein. Common mullein is a plant that is native to Europe and the United States, though most mullein species are treated as common mullein. This plant is great for colds and flus because they stimulate the secretion of mucus from the mucous membranes. This happens because the plant is mucilaginous, so it is good for the entire respiratory system and the respiratory tract. Things like your throat, your lungs, esophagus, mouth, ears, etc. It can be used in tea or tincture form, and my favorite use is in tincture form, but it works wonders in tea form as well. Because of its mucilaginous nature, it helps to clear respiratory congestion and really helps to ease coughs, especially if used with supporting herbs like horehound or white pine, or even mullein. Being very easy to identify and harvest, the leaves, flowers, and flower buds are all usable and make excellent teas and tinctures. When used with echinacea, however, it can also help to boost the immune system for colds and flus, but is also good for ear infections if the juice from the stem is used as drops in the ear. Supporting herbs for common mullein include, but are not limited to, boneset, echinacea, white pine, and golden seal. This herb was once combined with lobelia inflata for use as an herbal cigarette because of its actions on the respiratory system for those who smoke tobacco and how well it helps to clear the lungs of any tar and congestion. Its taste is mild but flavorful, and if you gather the leaves and flowers, it tastes amazing in my opinion in any way that you use it. However, it should be noted, your opinion might differ from that, and I have heard some people do not appreciate the taste of mullein. Number 3 is Canadian sanicle. This is a very common but overlooked plant that loves to grow in moist woodlands, and oftentimes people who are outside walk right by it and don't even know. However, sanicle is great for a numbing agent and is also very good if used as an anti-inflammatory. It's astringent in nature, which means that it will contract the tissues it is applied to, and this can be great when combined with other herbs like yarrow for deep cuts and wounds, as it helps to seal the cut faster. There are several species of sanicle, and depending on where you live, you will probably have at least one species available to you if you live in the United States. The kind that I am showing here is known as Canadian sanicle or black sanicle, but other common names can include, but are not limited to, sanicle, sanicle snakeroot, black snakeroot, and Canadian snakeroot. This is not to be confused with white snakeroot, however, which is a whole other plant entirely. Canadian sanicle was often used in the 17th and 18th century as a remedy for poisonous snake bites, hence its common names. This is because of its astringent nature, which allows for the toxins to be drawn out of the skin. However, modern medicine has not vindicated its use for this purpose, so bear that in mind when you are using this plant. When combined with plants like yarrow, for example, it is very effective for numbing pains and cleaning out wounds, as it is also antibacterial, meaning it clears out bacteria that can cause infection, which is so common in deep cuts and wounds. The plant is best used fresh and best taken topically for these types of uses, and it also works very well when combined with other supporting herbs in a salve or a balm. Number 2 is boneset. Boneset is one of those plants with a common name that is rather confusing in that it doesn't really do anything for broken bones. It can be used to treat symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis in an emergency situation, but for long term it's best to find another plant as boneset can be rather damaging to the liver due to its pyrrolidazine alkaloids. The term alkaloid is somewhat controversial these days as it usually denotes a toxin. That is true and false at both times in the case of boneset because if used properly in short periods, it is great for clearing up colds and flus as it helps to boost the immune system. By promoting the action of white blood cells, it helps the body to fight infection much better, and it derives its common name from dengue fever or breakbone fever, wherein the fever was so intense it felt like the bones were actually breaking, hence the common name boneset. When used with echinacea and golden seal though, it will usually stop most influenza in its tracks and can be also used effectively for diarrhea. It can be used as a tea or tincture, but is rather bitter in taste, so a tea might not be the best for everyone. My preferred method of use for boneset is in tincture form whenever I'm feeling like I might be getting a common cold or common influenza. The flowers and leaves can both be used at the same time, and it's best in my personal experience to use them both in the same mixture for maximum effectiveness. Boneset is a native of Europe, but is widely naturalized here in the United States and is not an invasive plant that takes over other native species. It usually loves low, moist environments with a lot of water and runoff and can grow quite tall, all the way up to 5 or 6 feet in some cases. Number 1 is yarrow. Yarrow's uses as a medicinal plant and herb go all the way back to Achilles, at least as far as documented uses go, though it is safe to assume it has been used way before that by the people of ancient Europe. Yarrow is a powerful astringent, antibacterial, antibiotic, and pain reliever. It has been used by people of Europe for deep cuts and wounds and also to clear infections like staph infection. Using it topically will prevent the spread of bacteria and help to seal up the cut, preventing toxins and other bacteria from getting inside of the affected area. It can be used in many ways from teas to balms to salves, tinctures as well. It has even been smoked as it can be rather relaxing and somewhat euphoric, though in my experience it is quite harsh and bitter when smoked, and I do not usually recommend using it in smoking mixtures. Yarrow's effects on the bodies have in some ways been likened to wormwood because it does contain tuhone. Tuhone is a compound that is present in traditional absinthe recipes. Tuhone can also be hallucinogenic, and yarrow is no exception to this rule. However, it does not give hallucinations if used properly, and I have only experienced these hallucinations when using too much, especially if I use it with lobelia inflata, so make sure you keep that in mind. As a pain reliever from wounds or even sore muscles, it is best used in tincture form, in my opinion, as it really helps to ease the inflammation that causes those sore muscles. On deep cuts, it can be combined with sage to act as a sort of herbal stitch to keep those deep cuts closed. When used internally for staph or even MRSA, I believe it holds very much promise, especially when combined with other plants and herbs like plantain and white oak, though modern medicine has not studied it too much yet for this purpose, to my knowledge. Okay, so there are my top 5 favorite wild medicinal plants, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned a lot from it, and if you want to learn more about wild edibles or medicinal plants, please make sure to subscribe, and if you liked the video, make sure to like it. I thank all of you guys for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one.